Hey, so the first thing I want to address here is the sound issue. I know a few people have brought this up, and I think it's my responsibility to address it. As it stands, I think the sound isn't too bad. I'm saying that because I can hear it clearly when I play back my videos, and generally it's been the situation that where I hear it okay, so have most of my subscribers because people have told me that they've given me feedback it's better now, and so on. So in recent days, I feel it's not been too bad. I think it's been audible. It's not perfect, and I don't know if it ever will be. Um, I mean, I've had videos where you can literally barely hear them, and I was embarrassed by them. I want to get rid of them. But basically, the situation is this. I got a virus about 2 years ago. Now, I don't know if that's impacted the sound system, but it may have played a role. I have my volume at 100%, and as you can see, I'm speaking directly into the volume, into the microphone. I don't know what else to do. Maybe I can upgrade the system or something, but in all likelihood, that will cost money, and right now, it's just beyond my means. So, unfortunately, I do feel it's beyond my control. It's not an ideal situation. I would prefer that the sound was perfect, but when I play back the videos, I can hear them. So, please bear with me. And people saying, "Oh, you've got a sound issue." I know about it, guys, and girls. I understand. I did make some videos trying to explain this, but I appreciate I have a lot of videos and maybe people didn't see those. I know about the problem. I'm not oblivious to it. It's just that it is beyond my control right now. That's it. So I don't think there's much more I can say about that. Maybe in the future it'll be a better situation, but for now I would say please work with me. Either use headphones. Please understand the situation or don't watch. That's I just don't have the means right now to upgrade it. Anyway, I want to discuss Donald Trump and NATO, but before getting into that, in the last video I said that there was a lot of things going on in the news cycle, and there were a few things I didn't mention. So I'm going to briefly mention them. I talked about the death of Lord Carrington. I had talked about obviously the tensions in the cabinet over Brexit and high level resignations. England's World Cup speculation, the potential for an England win, that's obviously huge in the news. And you can't avoid it, even if you're not a football fan like myself. Although I would say that people need to remember not everyone's into football. I heard about two very obnoxious women in Nottingham in a theatre. They actually interrupted the theatrical performance to cheer England in the must be in the Sweden game and they were asked to leave, I think, in the end, but they were surprised. They thought they had some right to interrupt a theatre performance, which everyone else had paid to see. So I hope England does well, but people need to remember not everyone is into it, into football, that is. The RAF is celebrating its centenary, 100 years of the RAF. The courage those young men showed in both World Wars, but particularly World War II. 55,000 British, Polish, Czech airmen died in World War II. That's a staggering figure, i.e., Britain and its allies. It really is a staggering figure. A large number of them, of course, in the Battle of Britain, but also throughout the war. 55,000. Now, the ratio of deaths, as I understand it, in the army was 1 in 100. In the navy, it was 1 in 60. In the RAF, 1 in 3. That shows how dangerous the RAF was, and it really, a lot of young men never made it home. A lot of young American servicemen died over our shores as well. So we should never ever forget that sacrifice. And it's 100 years old today. It originally, of course, came out of the Royal Navy as a sort of branch of the Royal Navy. Now it's a very proud branch of the armed forces in its own right. 100 years. And the other thing, of course, is the Novichok poisoning incident. The only reason I haven't commented on great detail with that is I don't know if there's a huge deal more to say. I don't think that Russia directly targeted two British civilians, But I do think this is the aftermath of what I believe Russia did do to the Skripals. So from that point of view, Russia is at least partly responsible. Having said that, I do think the authorities need to answer why they cleared the area when it obviously wasn't safe. However, these people picked up the substance, they did, and the woman is sadly died, and the man is in critical condition. So it's very serious matter. So to round off with the Trump NATO issue, again, I'm not going to go into huge detail with this, but Donald Trump's coming to Europe in a few days, right? He's going to the NATO summit in Brussels, then he's coming on to this much talked about visit to the UK. I have tried to be fair to Trump. I've never been a fan of Trump, but I've tried to be fair to him. I have defended him when I think the criticism has been unfair. I do think that some liberal media networks have been out to get Trump from the beginning. I don't think they've shown much interest in balanced reporting. But there comes a point when you have to look at Trump's rhetoric and think, is this man really helping Western stability? And I have to say, I'm strongly questioning that. Now, it's not the first time a US president has questioned NATO. In fact, this goes back to the Eisenhower years, as I understand it. Pretty much every American president has called on European countries to contribute more. I understand, and I could be wrong about this, but I understand the UK and one or two other countries are the only countries outside the US that meet their NATO obligations. Now, that hasn't stopped Trump taking a swipe at Britain and taking cheap shots at this country. And he's done it several times now. He distorted the situation with the NHS, trying to claim that proved our healthcare system was flawed, um, when the actual issue was pressures on the NHS, not the NHS itself. So that was a distortion. He shared posts from fringe groups like Britain First recklessly without checking the sources, then backtracked. And now he's publicly said we're in a mess. Now, even if that's his view, that just even by Trump's standards, that just lacks diplomacy. You don't say that. He insulted the Canadians. He's insulted numerous European countries. And yet, this is a man who kind of plays this, oh, well, I don't know what Putin's like. I might get on with him. He's a competitor. I don't know the gentleman. So it would be one thing. Trump supporters say give him credit for reaching out. I would, if he wasn't simultaneously lashing out at Western allies. Ronald Reagan reached out, but at least he didn't spend all his time taking cheap shots at Western allies, certainly not on this sort of scale, and not so publicly. The Reagan diaries are actually quite revealing, but he certainly didn't do it publicly. Um, that's no joke, because that gives the impression the West is deeply divided. In my opinion, it plays straight into the hands of Putin. Trump basically supported Putin's line on Syria. So essentially, Trump served as an apologist for Assad, despite the airstrikes, by towing the Kremlin narrative on that. Again, he was stirring up cynicism against the West. Now, I believe those airstrikes were justified, but Trump's flip flopping and utter lack of diplomacy is not just pompous and arrogant, it's seriously jeopardizing, in my view, the stability of the West. I mean, okay, other American presidents may have been irritated by aspects of NATO and the perception of imbalance, and they may have had a point. Maybe countries like Germany should contribute more, but how can European leaders um, accommodate Trump's demands when he's simultaneously insulting them? You know, Trump supporters, including in the UK, who are, in my view, blinded by their pro Brexit views, um, are always making excuses for Trump. Um, so, for example, this perceived giant blimp balloon that's going up, I agree it's childish. But those people who are spending all their time attacking the balloonists, the people who made that, Why are you not so bothered about Trump's constant insults to this country? You might say Trump is all for Brexit and he said Brexit will be wonderful. That's a political position. That isn't a compliment to the country. Okay? So I'm not happy about this man's attitude, and am very unhappy with the way he's cozying up to Moscow. I mean, the Russia investigations are ongoing. Okay, nothing has been 100% proven, but Trump isn't exactly doing much to dissuade the suspicion that he is Putin's lapdog. Um, and I have to admit, right now, I am really questioning the future of the West. That's a profound thing to say. There are people out there who are rubbing their hands with glee at the prospect the European Union will collapse. The same people have nothing to say about Russian aggression. They have nothing to say about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, about the shooting down of MH17 by pro Russian rebels, about Putin propping up the murderous Assad regime, about Russian state media like RT doing so much to sow up discord and mistrust within the West by supporting Scottish and Catalan independence. Um, the list goes on, not to mention the Salisbury incident. So there's a very long list of Russian animosity towards the West. People say, oh, well, it's Russophobia. But consider this, Putin has now been at the helm for 20 years. I don't think the problem is with Russian people. I don't think the problem is even necessarily with Russia. I think it comes down to Vladimir Putin. It's not that things were perfect in the Medvedev years, but and during the Yeltsin years, there was some degree of detente. I think that it comes down to Putin. In the end of the day, you either weigh up three British prime ministers and what is it, four American presidents? No, four British prime ministers and four American presidents with one Russian leader. Now, you know, who's likely to be right? You can say, oh, but the West is always bashing Russia. Well, Western leaders have tried to reach out to Russia, and all they've got back in return is Putin's belligerence and arrogance. So Trump, I think, is playing a dangerous game here. It's fine reaching out to Russia and wanting better relations. That's natural. That's diplomatic. But not when you're simultaneously bashing the West. He done the same thing at the Singapore summit. After leaving the G7 summit, what did he do? He insulted the Canadians, and it's just I have never in my lifetime and beyond seen a president so crass, so undiplomatic, and so flippant about um, international relations. That's how I feel about it. Even if Trump gets on really well with Putin, I wouldn't call that a success at a time when he's bashing the West. It would be, Trump would be seen as a hero if he brought some sort of detente with Russia, but not at the price of taking cheap shots at his Western allies. So, yes, he's coming next week. We're going to welcome him. There will be protests. It's a democratic right to protest. I support their rights, provided it's peaceful. But the Trump supporters need to, I don't know, stop always making excuses for him. There comes a point when you have to think, well, what's this rhetoric achieving? The North Korean issue, I gave Trump credit at the time of the Singapore summit, but looking at the situation in North Korea, it's questionable how much the regime has actually changed. So you have to wonder, has Kim taken Trump for a ride? I don't know. Thanks for watching.